When Harden's jersey retired in the nightclub, a boy once plagued with congenital asthma has long become a billionaire. But look at his empty fingers. His dream of being a champion for 15 years is still unfulfilled. He gave up the royal treatment in Space City. Whether in Brooklyn or Philadelphia, he has tread carefully, but has never been able to grasp the future he desires. I am Xiaoming, and today I will share with you the story of James Harden. Born August 26, 1989, Harden grew up in the City of Angels. His mother had 2 miscarriages before his birth, and his father was in and out of jail trying to make a living. The incessant siren noises outside his window disturbed his childhood, until the 2000 NBA Finals, when Kobe Bryant returned from a grade 2 ankle sprain to the finals. Not only did he help Shaquille O'Neal win his first championship, but he also stirred up a storm in young Harden's heart. A child of a poor family, Harden learned to be independent and strong early on. At the age of 12, he left a note for his mother. "Please wake me up at 7. Could you give me some money? Please keep this note, because I am going to be a star." The wings of dreams stirred the ambition of the young boy. However, asthma and obesity rendered each break on the basketball court a flow against his goal. Many days were monotonous, and he had to hide in the dark corners, practicing his basic skills. Yet the ball does not lie. Children who run hard will eventually be favored by fate. In his first year of high school, Harden averaged 13.2 points per game. Although he's still far from being a star player, he succeeded in catching the attention of head coach Scott Pera, who made Harden give up all sports except basketball, and continued practices even during asthma attacks. And to encourage Harden to attack the basket, Coach Pera ordered that each game, there should be at least 6 free throw attempts. At this point, he probably didn't realize how much of a disaster this habit would bring to the future NBA. Time slipped by like water, but it injected a murderous intent into Harden's eyes. Asthma gradually backs away from him, and the exuberant years burn like a flame. After leading the team to win the state championship 2 years in a row, Harden continues to follow in Pera's footsteps, choosing Arizona State University over UCLA's invitation. Unlike UCLA, which boasted Westbrook and Love, Arizona had no reputation. In the past 12 seasons, they had only made it to the NCAA tournament once. But thanks to this, Harden received more opportunities, covering the front page of Sports Illustrated in his freshman year. With the bloom of the master-disciple bond, the path to the NCAA tournament for Arizona State was lit up again. Harden, with his performance of reaching the free throw line 270 times in a season, became the Player of the Year in the Pacific Zone, and took his step into the NBA. In the 2009 NBA Draft, Harden was picked by the Thunder with the 3rd overall pick, and behind him was the still and bud Stephen Curry. At that moment, he probably didn't pay too much attention to this fellow with mediocre physical skills. But in the city of Oklahoma, where talents were bursting, compared to the long-armed Kevin Durant and the inseparable force, Russell Westbrook, Harden became the one with mediocre talents. In his debut game for the Thunder, Harden got 5 points and 2 rebounds in 13 minutes off the bench. On the other side, Kevin Martin made 14 of his 14 free throw attempts, scoring a game-high of 27 points. Harden greedily absorbed the foul-drawing experience from his senior, and tasted his first postseason journey in the rookie season. After 6 games competing against his idol Kobe, he only got an average of 7.7 points and 1.8 assists, and drowned in the shadow of defeat. However, Westbrook received high praises from Kobe. In the days that followed, Westbrook continued his way with his extraordinary physical skills, while Harden started to delve into his step-back technique. The clear sweat dripped onto the wooden floor of the training ground. The road to dreams is inevitably filled with obstacles. When you're not renowned yet, working hard is the best weapon you could pick up. In the 11-12 season, Harden's ability grew thicker with his beard, and he led the league in average points off the bench. In the game against the Lakers on April 23rd, he boldly picked a duel with Kobe, scoring 14 points and 3 assists in only 13 minutes off the bench. The mountain that he could only look up to seemed to be conquered by him. But then, a man named World Peace knocked him out with an elbow. After resting for 2 games due to a concussion, Harden went off in the postseason. In the first round, they swept the Mavericks 4-0. The aged Cowboys could no longer hold back the youthful Thunder. They avenged the Lakers 4-1. Even the stubborn Kobe was drowned in the raging crowd. They caught up and beat the Spurs 4-2. The young guards of the Goose City rearranged the order of the Wild West. The only mountain remaining in front of them was the duel between LeBron and Durant rang the bell of a new era. Experiencing the finals for the first time was a little bit bitter for Harden. Only got a single-digit score in 4 of the matches in the offensive end, and got targeted by Wade and LeBron in the defensive end. The taste of defeat was pricking the runner-up's face. He put his hands on the shoulders of Big Bro and Second Bro, with a storm of reluctance and helplessness in his eyes. He didn't know that this might be the closest he could ever get to the championship. In the off-season, the wind brought unrest to the sky of London. An Olympic gold medal eased the bitterness of the Thunder trio's failure in the finals, while the Miami Heat, who kept their championship team, continued gathering soldiers. Ray Allen and Lewis joining undoubtedly empowered them even more. Compared to the Heat, who gave up traditional centers, the Thunder heavily renewed their contracts with two interiors, Ibaka and Perkins, because, other than the historical great forwards in the Stone City and the German Tank, Lakers' Twin Towers, Black and White Duo, and the City of Alley-Oops, none of them were trifling. Thus, the salary space left for Harden wasn't much. At the same time, the Rockets in the post-Yao Ming era were in need of a core for their team construction. The rising Harden was the most suitable candidate in their eyes. Therefore, they offered a trade chip consisting of Kevin Martin, some cash, and draft picks. The Thunder's management was quite tempted by this. So, when it came to renewing Harden's contract, they drastically lowballed. And they didn't give any time for consideration. After a series of merciless operations, the era of the Thunder trio ended. The brothers, who used to be as close as a hand and foot, are now blossoming on their own side. Dressing in the Rockets' uniform, Harden, who had the power to make unlimited shots, started a killing spree. In the first battle, he conquered Detroit with 37 points and 12 assists. This station captured the Hawks and scored a whopping 45 points and 7 rebounds. The deep-seated strength is turned into an effortless composure. The sweat that nobody cares about is exchanged for a hearty sprinkle. The former bench gangster is buried in the dark past. From then on, the league had a supreme god soldier who could cut through with a single blow. By my calculations, a deal that was beneficial to both parties at the time. Slowly fermented over time, the Rockets quickly welcomed spring after getting Harden. The injury-ravaged Goose City went into the abyss. While Durant was falling into the predicament that hard work couldn't change his fate, Harden was opening the door to a new world in the dazzling nightclub. The impoverished kid released himself in the surge of wealth, savoring the joy of family in the cup-changing cheers, also indulging himself in the deceptive lights. In the 15-16 season, the Rockets didn't climb aboard the playoff last train until the final round of the regular season. After that, they lost 1-4 to the Warriors in the first round. After the season, Howard left Space City. Harden, who was still enjoying his glory and wealth, suddenly woke up from his dream. The youthful dream reopened the engine of his heart. Turns out the real treasure is not in money and wine, but in inner satisfaction and spiritual fulfillment. At the Houston station of Kobe's retirement tour, Harden asked his childhood idol for an autograph. Even so, Kobe still said that Harden would never win a championship if he did not change his style of play. This sentence troubled Harden's peak like a nightmare, while also inspiring him to evolve towards the ultimate form. In the 16-17 season, Durant won the championship as he wished in Golden State. Westbrook officially embarked on the lonely journey of the triple-double king, and Harden once again fell in the Western Conference semifinals. Until Chris Paul, waving the anti-Warriors banner, moved into Houston. The aspiration for the championship, like a flame in a desperate situation, ignited the last catalyst for the Rockets to take off. As time flies, looking back at the Rockets, who had the best record in team history, Harden, with 30.4 points, 5.4 rebounds and 8.8 assists per game, shone with the immortal light of the MVP. Playoff first round, 4-1 against Timberwolves. As powerful as Jimmy Butler, also faded in this series. 4-1 semifinals against Salt Lake City. Filled the regret of losing to the Jazz during the Yao and Mac era. In the Western Conference Finals against the Warriors with 4 superstars, Harden and Paul combination fought against the Tsunami Brothers. Winning the key game, can't help but remind people of the famous quote from Rockets legendary coach Tom Janovich. Never underestimate a champion's heart. Houston has never been a big ball city. Its inherited stingy bloodline cannot be erased. Yet the spirit of the Rockets has never been extinguished. From Olajuwon's 10-year persistence to realize his dream, to the Eastern Giant facing the Shark emerging from the ground, from McGrady's 35 points and 13 points to shake the ground, Harden gambled his MVP honor to fight against death. Houston is also called the City of Tenacity. They rise in adversity and chase the passion in their hearts. Even if the road ahead is a mountain of knives or a sea of fire, they will not hesitate. Unfortunately, Paul was injured in this game. 3 years ago, he had the same injury. In the death game, he killed the Spurs. And 3 years later, he didn't want to bet his life for the Rockets. Although from a rational perspective, I have no reason to blame Paul. But for Harden, who is fighting to the point of blood, how he wished someone could help him in the 7th decisive battle after losing the 6th. Especially at the desperate moment of 27 consecutive misses and 3 points. Harden looked back at the bench, the most capable brother to help him, yet was reluctant to take off his coat. The Harden and Paul combination were like strangers. One is a thoughtful union president. The other is a bohemian nightclub prince. They came together entirely out of desire for the championship. The accident in 2018 caused a subtle change in their relationship, especially after Paul signed a large deal yet fell into the trough. Harden's dissatisfaction with him had reached its peak, and the Rockets, who were supposed to create more glory, so they went on the path of fragmentation. In the 18-19 season, Harden's average score reached 36.1 points. The Rockets kept the original lineup, but the record did not rise but fell. Western Conference semifinals against the Warriors again. The first 4 games were 2-2 again. Then Durant's injury suddenly ushered in the best championship opportunity for the Rockets. Unexpectedly, they lost 2 games in a row. After the game, Harden flew to the South Coast overnight. Drunken toasts and exchanges. The colorful colors blurred the original promise. At the same time also urged Paul to leave the team. As the King of the North won the first championship in team history, the Universal Warriors disappeared in the injury. The alliance returned to the new pattern of the heroes competing for the deer. Thunder Westbrook replaced Paul's position. The brothers of the past continued to pursue their dreams. But in 2020, the worldwide catastrophe slowed the Rockets' pace. Westbrook, who averaged 38 points against the Lakers in the regular season, encountered the double torment of illness and injury. The sliding resulted in a cliff-like decline in the Lakers series. The hope of the Space City was finally swallowed by the black hole. Lonely Harden wandered in the maze. The tired body eventually led to a dramatic change in the soul. On January 14, 2021, Harden forced the Rockets to achieve a 4-way trade through the Palace. He wished to go to Brooklyn and reunite with his old brother. Plus, Irving, Griffin, Little Jordan, and Aldridge. This galaxy warship seems to have declared the end of the alliance in advance. In the first 2 months of joining the Nets, Harden was named the best player in the East every month. He fought for a sufficient recovery time for Durant, who was recovering from a major injury. However, he unknowingly overdrew his own health. In the first round of the playoffs against the Celtics, Harden alone scored 34 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists in the 5th game, helped the Nets to advance to the Eastern Conference semifinals with a 4-1 lead. However, due to the recurrence of a leg muscle injury, he had to stop. But relying on the strong performance of Durant and Irving, the Nets took the lead in the series 2 o'clock early. The second game even slaughtered the Bucks by 39 points. But just in Brooklyn when they were already considering their next opponent, Irving's injury caused the situation to take a sharp turn. The Bucks took the opportunity to chase the big score to 2-2. Harden forced a comeback at the decisive Battle of the Kings, but the injury severely affected his performance. Played for 45 minutes, only 1 hit in 10 attempts, scoring only 5 points and making 4 errors. At this time, he may understand Paul's dilemma that year. When the Nets finally fell in the 7th decisive overtime, Harden, who was powerless, watched Durant, who had run out of ammunition and food. Everywhere in sight are memories. What was in his heart was the past. Everything he saw was regret. On February 11, 2022, Harden was traded to Philadelphia. It announced the collapse of Brooklyn's dominance. On the player strength list, the player who was once voted by the players as the most difficult to defend single-handedly gradually became a regular player in the eyes of experts. Twilight is not day or night, but Harden's final stubbornness towards the championship. In the 22-23 season, retiring Harden brought an MVP trophy to Embiid with an average of 10.7 assists per game. But after 5 consecutive years of stopping at the division semifinals, Harden realized that he didn't have much time left, and Philadelphia doesn't have the answer he wants. So he chose to follow the footsteps of his second brother, came to the Los Angeles Clippers. In this process, people have always criticized Harden's childishness. But life is not a movie. Not all efforts can be exchanged for a Hollywood-style ending. Most of the struggles for half a life can only change a moot poem. I once picked up a ray of light, and then returned it to the sun at sunset. Just like Harden, who was born with asthma, but in the highest hall of basketball, he produced a phenomenal performance. He has tried, struggled, and been lost. He has shown, but also lost. Among all the losses, perhaps the bench thug who was once abandoned by the Thunder is the most vulnerable wound in Harden's heart. The MVP trophy is a gift from heaven. The unreachable finals is the mockery of fate. Fortunately, the story is not over yet. Looking back suddenly, regret seems like a bed of thorns, in which we have acquired growth, and learned to cherish the happiness that's present. Born ordinary, but not willing to be ordinary, has thus shaped this stubborn soul.